Thank you. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to facilitate this first session on climate action. And I think there is a very natural segue into this session from the previous ones. And I think the message is loud and clear that climate change is running faster than climate action. So what can we do? How can we come up with sustainable and long-term models that could address the issue? As to tell the truth, we are still struggling with these kinds of models, and business plays a central role in this. So it's really my pleasure to be here with the two panelists who have been playing a very crucial and active role in the business community and in this process that was just described, coming up with framing the issue in more biteable chunks per se. Esther, who is the Chief Sustainability Officer of City Development Limited. And in addition to that, you should know that she is the first Singaporean woman who has been awarded with the UN's SDG Pioneer title because of the work that she's doing in the business community. And Andrew Buay, who is the Vice President of Singtel, and in addition to looking after the sustainability initiatives and principles, he is also very active in coaching in leadership and other leaders on how to be the champions and pioneers of sustainability and especially climate action. So my role is just to introduce a little bit where we are with the climate action within this process that Ian described before. Essentially in the area of climate action, where since the stakeholder advisory meeting and the expert panel meeting, we have been focusing and come up with three main areas, focus areas, where businesses can take better action. The first one has been titled Bringing Along the Tail, but I would say it's not so much about bringing along the tail, which refer to include and involved SMEs and smaller companies, not just the big ones who are already taking action, but to me it's also to incorporate the entire value system, the entire supply chain system in climate action, not just in terms of individual sectors and companies, and I think Esther will talk about this very much. The second is the need for sharing information, but beyond the information, how we can use the innovation, technology, and other aspects to accelerate business action, and not just continuing on a growing trend, but really to leapfrog. And thirdly, we need platforms such as this one to convene and to ensure that we can come up with holistic approaches that address the matter. So maybe, Andrew, let me turn to you first and ask you, especially from the perspective of what you've seen and not just your own company, but others you work with, what are along these themes some of the accelerators we can focus on? Because I think from the discussion it's clear we cannot just do what we're doing and just to preach to the converted, but what we need to do is find accelerators that will bring others on board.
Yeah, thank you. In the working group, expert group, one of the key issues, as an understatement, of course, this topic of climate change is probably one of the most complex ones. And as Akim mentioned earlier, it's a systems-based issue that we've got to try and tackle. So when we looked at the issue, we identified there were two major areas that could either be blockers or opportunities. The first was the lack of common understanding of information, of data, of assumptions, of scenarios around climate change. It's one thing to have a less than 2 degrees or 1.5% global warming target, but what does that mean in terms of its impact at a local level in Singapore or in the interdependencies in supply chain? So one key area is how do the collective multi-level stakeholders come together with a collective common understanding of all this data and information, which is actually quite sorely lacking today, even as you've got the global information, the global data. The second area is, again, because it's a systems issue, climate change is a systems issue, the issue of interdependencies. Interdependencies not only in supply chain, but in the ecosystem, from infrastructure to government policies to social community organizations. And that's another area that's been identified as gap. As large as a company like Singtel is, even if we invest in the area of climate change and adaptation, there's only so much we can do, because we've directly experienced when a major climatic event happens, we could have our telecom towers built to higher levels of resilience and resistance, but when the power grid is down for 8 days, no power, you still don't have telecom facilities, or when your telecom facilities are out, it's not just about phone calls, but emergency services cannot connect, local community cannot connect with family members. So the issue of interdependencies becomes a major area. So in examples like in Australia, what we found is there's room to collaborate, bring different levels of stakeholders from government, private entities together to try and align data, information, research, policy. And we feel that's one way to actually move the collaboration forward.
Thank you very much. So Esther, maybe over to you. You were mentioning it to me before we started, how important it is to look at technology and whether the technology, for example, is sufficient, today's technology, to achieve what we want to achieve. And looking at your sector, which is in development, how do you see this moving forward?
Well, definitely. Everybody live, work, and entertain and play, using buildings and spending 70% of our times in buildings. So we actually, as a developer for home and commercial property and also a key landlords, we have been committed to green building, how we design, build, and manage buildings, committed to the highest level of green mark standard. And I think infrastructure is very important. Technology can achieve game-changing results and impact, but we also cannot forget the people, And we actually take two approach that we engage technology, that innovator. We actually partner, our local university has set up a smart green building lab and also a tropical technology lab to look at the latest, to pilot the latest PV technology and anti-fungus, humidity type of wall finish, flooring. So there are a lot of R&D are going on now. And apart from that, we also use new technology, how to build, how to raise technology productivities by 40%, how to raise environmental, and health and safety standards. So all these are a lot of actions are going on now. And as far as how to change behavior and mindset of people are very important. We have already achieved 100% for green lease and engaging our tenants from the first day we pass them the key, how you should furnish your premises using more sustainable approach, and how you can, actually we empower them to go green with us, and we give them the password to track their energy consumption almost real time. Without tracking, they won't know what are the impact. So building consume 40% of energy. So low carbon, low energy is always our priority. So that is the both end to it. And we have the fortunes to actually engage a very large ecosystem, from the regulators to investor, financier, and of course, architect, main con, subcon, suppliers, and downstream, the consumers and the community at large. And we fully believe in partnership because that will help us multiply our voices, our ideas, our resources, and most importantly, impact. Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe just to stay with you and following up on this last point that you made, how do you think we can be more effective in including and bringing along this value system and the supply chain and the various interdependencies that you mentioned? What can be done differently to accelerate this kind of engagement?
Yeah, definitely. Like Andrew said, the understanding, is important without knowing what you're talking about. Sometimes value principle based is very abstract. So the best is you really break it into more specific topics and how they can really contribute to a greener and more sustainable world. And we actually have designed and built a Zero Energy Sustainability Academy and opened last year. In the first, actually what we did is, it's really an extensive partnership involving 6 government agencies and 15 founding industry and NGO partners. Basically, we give half of the space for sustainable energy associations to engage and build capacity for renewable energy professionals in the region, not just Singapore. So it's a free space that we give them to conduct courses. In the first 12 months, they conduct 40 courses. So that is how you build capacity, share knowledge, share technology. And we actually chaired a program committee engaging the 6 government agency and some NGO, and some NGO are actually in the audience also. And we engage industry partner, we engage cut across industry. It need not to be just building industry. We engage almost every sectors to adopt SDG. No one entity can adopt all SDGs. It is, I'm not convinced that everyone can do all, but try to align it. I always share that, okay, use the ABC approach. Align the goals with your core competence, your core business, and it has to be a business case, especially for private sector. It has to be a win-win collaboration and also contributes to make business sense and financial sense of what you are doing. And doing good, doing well have to go hand in hand. And C is basically the common good for the environment, for the community. Try to find simplicity and clarity out of clutter. Otherwise, everybody talk about values, that there's just too much to talk about. But sustainability reporting is very important. What get measured, get managed. If they don't know what the area for improvement, it is very hard. So we have actually offer more updated information. Apart from annually, we do the sustainability report. We offer online quarterly report and offer information about our progress on our strategic targets that we set under our sustainability blueprint. We call it Future Value 2030. Don't look at just today, but look at tomorrow. And we set very ambitious science-based targets to reduce our carbon intensity reduction by 59% by 2030. Yeah, it took us almost 8 months to set these ambitious targets, and we just achieved it in July. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. One of the things, Andrew, you mentioned, and I think that's key and core to this discussion, is essentially what we're trying to achieve is how we can impact business decisions, how we can influence investment decisions, and data is key to this. And from our perspective as a development organization, this is where we're trying to also be facilitators of promoting and doing analysis on data that would inform risks and opportunity decisions of the private sector. So where do you see are the key gaps and the key actions that we can still take to provide this kinds of evidence for decision making?
Yeah. Well, I'll use the example of the Australian Business Roundtable for Disaster Resilience and Safer Communities that Optus, our Australian associate, was a founding member on. It really came together multi-stakeholder with a banking sector, with the infrastructure sector, with property, with the insurance sector, and even Red Cross as a social community organization that deals with the disasters, to pull together and create a common framework of data integration for research into scenarios, the long-tail impact, financial and social costs, research into the kind of policy formulations that could be recommended to government. The reason why we felt that was important, which can be an opportunity for this collaboration, is because once you can undertake and underwrite and invest in creating that common data platform, information and knowledge, then actually organizations, entities, whether government, local, non-profit, private sector, can start to use off some of the common information. Because otherwise there's a lot of duplication of efforts, and when you talk about the long tail of smaller enterprises, while as a big company, Singtel can afford to undertake some of that scenario modeling and SBTI and everything, when you go into the long tail of corporates and private sector, it's very hard for them to do that. And this is where the collaborative platform can actually make quite a significant difference.
Great. Thank you. So I think just to sum up and give us some food for thought for this the continuous process that we're going to go through, what would be your last just one sentence summing up where we need to do our thinking during these 2 days, Esther?
Well, I think, like what I can say, we have to work together climate action is more important. Climate war is more important than trade war. So we have to set our priority right, and everybody should work together.
Andrew?
Well, for me, in this space, no single entity organization has the complete solution. Every member of this forum today has a bit of information and a portion of the capability. And I think through the forum, through this day and tomorrow, if everyone just brings to bear the little bits of knowledge, information, capabilities that they have, that collaborative model can make us whole, and that's where the synergy is. So, come with an open mind, there's no silly view, no one is too far behind in this. I think everyone can contribute to that conversation, to the solutioning, and to the ideation.
Thank you very much. I really believe this gives us a good start. So let's follow up on the partnerships, the information sharing, data, and convening and working together on these issues in the next 2 days. Thank you, Esther. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you very much.